Hi, and welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I am a food truck business trainer, author of Food Truck 101, Beginner to Winner, and the forthcoming book, Food Truck 201. This podcast is all about helping you start and grow your food truck business. This week, I'm interviewing Warren Nash from Easy Eats. Since much of the interview is actually a demonstration of Easy Eats' POS and KDS system, I am also going to release this interview on my YouTube channel, which is called Food Vendor Reality, and there'll be a link in the description for that. Rather than break this interview up into small segments, I'm releasing the full interview all at one time. The interview is going to be well over an hour long and is well worth the listen. So please set aside the time. If you can't watch it today, schedule it into your week later on. You guys know that I want to get food trucks out of the Stone Ages. Handwritten tickets and ticket rails are so last millennia. Easy Eats is the way to modernize your business. Included are 5 essential must-haves. Every food truck needs to be on some type of map location system. Every food truck needs to have the ability to do online ordering. Every food truck needs to have a modern POS that can process all the different types of credit cards. It needs a KDS, which that stands for a kitchen display screen, so that the cooks can see what they need to prepare and what they need to cook without having to pass tickets back and forth. And then the best feature is an automatic system to alert the guests that, hey, your food is up. And they do that via a text message. So there's no pagers to hand out. There's no standing at a window screaming out names. So let's get into the details with Warren. It's going to be well worth the time.
Well, happy to give a little overview on my background here. So my name is Warren Nash. I'm one of the co-founders of Easy Eats. Myself and a few friends of mine who are programmers started the company. I don't know, 6 years ago, something like that. And the idea for a point of sale system for food trucks, it kind of morphed from an earlier idea based on an experience I had with a restaurant in Chicago. And this restaurant basically had a stock market-like board for their beer prices. And by that, I mean, it would update in real time for the prices of beer based on demand. So if no one orders a Mick Golden Light or something like that for an hour, the price would go down by 15 cents or something like that. And if something was really popular, the price would go up. I thought that was neat. Just, it's a gimmick, sure, but it was neat. So I went home and spent a lot of time and basically built out an algorithm to do that, at least conceptually. So I built this cool little algorithm, surprisingly enough, in Excel, but you can actually do a lot of programming in Excel to basically do a time decay function and make that. So I noodled on that for a while and ultimately pulled some friends in, and it kind of morphed from that, which again is neat, but kind of just a gimmick, into point of sale systems for food trucks. And we settled on that, or not settled on that, but went to that because there was a real need there. And no one was really serving it. So at the time specifically, you had expensive food systems for restaurants, like full scale point of sale KDS, all the back of the house management stuff for restaurants. But none of that would really make sense at a food truck. Way too expensive, also pretty fixed and not very mobile. And then you had very, very, very basic, Square in its infancy for taking payment at a window, but that's all it did. So we saw a need we want to bring the features of a full system into a food truck while also pulling in other things that are unique to food trucks. And one of those being location tracking. So everything within our system has location tracking. You open for the day, you appear on a map and everyone knows you're there. And then of course you can advertise that. So that was kind of the early genesis of it and how it morphed from kind of a cool little novelty into a real point of sale system that's focused on food trucks. And again, very cost efficiently, ideally it's for most people, it is less expensive than most other systems out there even today, but it gives a lot of value and a lot of features that are unique and special for food trucks.
I agree that what you have is definitely unique, and it's one of the things I always talk about, getting food trucks out of the Stone Age. So let's talk about the Stone Age of your company. Mm-hmm. How does the current iteration differ from the very first thing y'all put out for food trucks?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It has morphed a lot. So when we first started, it wasn't a full point of sale system. It was basically just the online ordering piece initially, because that is, relatively speaking, and I'm sure my programmer buddies would say otherwise, but relatively speaking, that's the easy thing to build. Whereas actual getting tablets and apps built and then connecting it, all that's more complicated. But from the beginning, we did build it as a cloud-based system, and then we built the online ordering piece. But we also realized that that isn't enough. That's not a business model. We can't have a business with that, because when you look at the other competitors out there, I forget some of their names, like Food Truck Pub is one, Street Food Finder is another, and there's a few other ones like that. They charge very high fees, relatively speaking. It's only $1 or $1.50, but percentage-wise on an order, that's quite large, and that's on top of quite expensive credit card processing fees. And they have their marketing sales pitch. They try to spin those fees in different ways, but the end fee is quite high. So we realized that it has to be for them to have a business, but the fee's too big really to have a good value proposition. So we quickly realized that, we need to build a full point of sale system that has all the online ordering features into a point of sale system that a truck can use. So they have one process, regardless of whether someone orders at the window or online. It all flows into the same system, the same KDS screen. And so it's easy to use and it's less expensive. So the online's way less expensive. The window ordering is a little bit less expensive than other options. And it's all in one process too. And that was the other big thing, is the efficiencies. Because we learned that quickly too, once we had built our system, is that it's very difficult for food trucks to manage multiple processes. You can't have a production chain for your window orders and then another one for your online orders and another one maybe for delivery. You can, but it's slow, it's inefficient, it's difficult. And our system really evolved around bringing all those disparate processes together in one easy system, as well as, again, looping in location tracking and texting the customer when the food is ready and all that kind of stuff, the notification element of it. So it's changed a lot from that early days to kind of a full system that I can fairly confidently say we compete straight on with Square or Toast or Clover. And we can't offer everything that they do, but it's very focused on what food truckers need.
So let's talk about all the different elements that your system has that, say, like Square does not have unless you're paying for the additional fees. So you have, anybody that signs up with you gets a website, or not a website, but a web page.
Correct. Yes. And there's important distinction there. Everyone that uses our system gets online ordering by default. And the tactical way that works is they have a web page on our website. So our website is easyeats.xyz. They would have an add-on at the end there, easyeats.xyz/northbound or /GI Joe's food truck. And that enables them to not only have the online element, but then to create QR codes, which they can put on menus for people to scan with their phone and order from, or disseminate that in any channel online or on posters or A-frames in front of your truck.
So that particular element, let's say somebody's setting up at a brewery.
Yeah.
They could have a QR code for every table in the brewery.
Yep.
And know exactly where to deliver that food. Or to let the person know that the food's up and, hey, come get it.
Yeah. So we can actually do both. Yeah, there's the customer can come and get it, or if the food truck wants to, there is a feature where we ask the customer when they're ordering, what table number they're at or something like that, and the truck can deliver it to them. Most don't want to because they don't have the labor for it, but they actually can. So
yeah, but there's definitely that option.
Yep.
So that's one feature.
Yep.
Then they actually get the POS system that we're all familiar with, that actually the cashier is standing there and able to touch screen.
Yep.
And then the different point that you have that a lot of trucks do not have is that KDS, which is a kitchen display system. And what we're looking at here would be the left-hand side of the screen. As soon as the cashier touches it, it sends it to them.
Yep.
And what I love about your system was now we're not having to worry about tickets and tickets on a ticket rail and losing all of those. But the best part of this, you eliminate one other thing that a lot of food trucks buy, and that's those pagers.
Yep.
As soon as they hit ready, there's a notification sent out via the cell phone that the customer has given to either the cashier or they've done it online.
Right.
And now they know, hey, the food's up.
Yep.
So there's no standing at a window hollering. There's no pager to lose or have somebody steal, which happens too frequently, or they give it to their kid and it gets snot all over it and the kid drops it and now it's got dirt all over it and everything else.
Yep.
We have all done those.
Exactly. And the texting through years of using it now, it's very efficient. It's very rare someone's not going to see the message and come and get their food right away. Everyone always has their phones on them.
Right.
It's texting's the fastest way to connect with people, like the most directly for the vast majority of the population.
Yeah. And again, it's the goal is to get food trucks into the modern era, and everything is digital. I mean, you just described it. Most of the food trucks guests are going to be sitting there scrolling through their social media anyway, while they're waiting on the food to get done.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's just to my mind, that's a perfect system for what a food truck needs to have today, for sure. All right. As far as the texting rules, can you kind of explain why that's not something that's so common, or as common as you would expect it to be?
A combination of it costs money and spam filters. So believe it or not, I'm not going to say how much, of course, but our highest expense for our system is incremental expense for our system is texting.
Right.
So you wouldn't think so. I send texts to each other all the time or whatever, and it's free. It's just there. But if you're a commercial business, you have to pay for every text that is sent, and it's material. It's not a huge amount, but it's material, and it adds up. So that's one piece. The other piece is, well, we all complain about the spam texts we get all the time. So, and believe it or not, the telecoms and the people in between, basically the people between us and the telecoms, they do a lot to filter out spam. I know it doesn't seem like it because we get them all the time, but they do a lot to filter out spam. So we have to be very careful and very specific and very formulaic in the text that we send. So they're customized, like it'll say the name of your truck and it'll say the name of the person that ordered, but it's a formulaic text to get past the filters and be standardized and not get blocked, because if you don't do it exactly right, it will get blocked. So some combination of that. Obviously other big companies can, or any big companies, if we're a small company, we can figure it out. Big companies can definitely figure out that piece of it, but there is a cost element, and it is material.
Right.
And some just, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's rocket science. Some I just don't think have thought about it from that side of things, or they have an app that serves a similar function. And if they can just push the notification on the app, well, that costs them nothing, but texting you actually costs a material amount of money.
Right.
So from this kind of standpoint.
Right. Exactly. But that's included in your package. It's not like that's some upsell that you do.
No. So everything in our system at the moment, every feature we have is included. You can have multiple KDS screens if you want. There's no extra cost. It's all included. Maybe someday we'll add some amazing thing that we have to upcharge for, but at the moment we include everything, and we want to. Obviously, we like having these features in here. Even though some people would say, oh, well, I might not want that feature. Yeah, but you probably need it. To your point, Bill, you want people to use the KDS screen. So I want to include it because it is a better thing for the system, for your processes. It will help you make more money, and charging you extra for it is a disincentive to actually using it. So we're not going to do that.
And that's a perfect way to describe it. It becomes a disincentive because food truckers are notoriously cheap, and they want the least expensive products that they can find for everything. And that's one of the things I like about what your system does. It has really the four components that a modern food truck needs. You have to have online ordering. You have to have that. There's no way around it. You have to have some POS system that's going to help you to track and communicate orders. You need the KDS, and then you need that order up alert system. It's all rolled into one package. That's why I love your system so much, and it's affordable.
Yeah. And that was our real goal, because we know a lot of food truckers and we've worked with them, and naturally we have to charge, we have to pay ourselves and eat and all those fun things ourselves, but we have done our absolute best to build the affordability into our philosophy. Like, again, the hardware is generic hardware. You're not buying something proprietary expensive from me. You download our app and you go. We include a lot of features that are very beneficial to the food truck, but we don't charge that much for them. And we've been able to price ourselves, generally speaking, and it's not true for everyone, but generally speaking, cheaper than the other major players out there for a comparable feature set. So
yeah, it's just an amazing product. That's why I tell everybody they need to get it.
we appreciate it.
At least try it out, if nothing else. And then, if they don't like it, I want to ask them why.
Right.
What is it about it you don't like?
Absolutely. No,
let's
go ahead.
I was just going to ask, we've really covered everything that we did earlier when Bill forgot to turn on record. There is one thing I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
What's the future? Because we talked about everything that's led you up to this point. What are some things you guys might have coming down the pike that would be interesting?
Yeah, new features. So we recently added a newer or relatively new credit card processing option, the pay line and the card point one we talked about before. We added that, I don't know, 6 months ago, let's say 6 months ago. It was probably about that long ago. And we've been refining it since, and there's still more improvements to make. So there's minor things like enabling the touch tap to pay on the credit card readers to work.
Right.
But there's things like that. But we probably won't add any more full new credit card processors anytime soon. SumUp and CardPoint seem to be really good. They serve slightly different functions. They're better for some customers. One's better for one customer, another's better for another, but they're basically optimal for those use cases. Most of the stuff in the future is more feature set add again. So we're trying to get back to that. And by that, I mean, we've added stuff in the past like inventory tracking or, different screens to show orders, stuff like that. The next things that we're working on, let's see what's on our dev chart here. Rewards program, because you need a rewards program. So that's another one that we're working on. And we already have a lot of the data. I mean, I can tell you, Warren Nash has ordered from whatever food truck 227 times because we store all that, but we need to actually build out a proper rewards program. So that's one of the things coming down the pipe. We have lots of general UI and UX design improvements. There's plenty of areas within the system where, we can make that prettier, or we can make that clearer, or we can make that a little better. So those things are always in process. What are some of the other big ones we're working on? People have asked for a dual screen POS system before, and we can do that. We just have to do it. So that's probably something we'll work on this year, depending on prioritization. But that's where, you have the screen on the front and the screen on the back, one for the cashier, one for the customer, so you don't have to spin the thing around. Spinning the thing around isn't that big of a deal, but people do ask for, well, I just want to have it the two, because then I don't have to, whatever. And we can do that. And so it seems to have enough interest that we will. It's just a matter of time and prioritization before we actually make that happen.
So that brings up a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
If they want a dual screen, because basically it's still essentially one POS. It's showing two different displays, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What if somebody wanted to have two POS systems, like they had two windows?
They can already do that.
Okay.
The system already does that, no problem. So you can have two tablets, two POS systems, two different windows, or one at the window, one outside walking around the line because it's super busy. Yeah, as long as they're connected to the same Wi-Fi or the same hotspots, you can have your two different credit card readers going, connected to those two tablets, and it'll push it into the system, no problem. So on the screen here, let me do something real quick. So per our earlier discussion, you see this upcoming order here. It just says hamburger ice cream. I haven't completed the order, but that's what's live on my tablet right now.
Right.
If you had two tablets connected at once, there would be another line that says, tablet, some number, the item beneath it, tablet, another number, item beneath it. And then as they're completed, they pop up in the order queue just as if they came from the same tablet. So you could have Theoretically, as many as you want. However, we've never tested more than 2. So, but you can have multiple POSs on the system at once.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I can see a definite benefit to that. Like you had talked about, the line gets super long.
Yeah.
You could send somebody out about halfway through.
Yeah.
But then again, you could just give them the QR code and tell them, hey, order yourself.
Yep.
On our page. Yeah.
People by default, in my experience, a lot of food truckers want to go the route of, oh, I want two POS systems, or can you make a self-service kiosk? And it's really important to get them to reframe the mindset to, no, get your customer to order from their phone. One, because that removes all of the work you have to do. So it's easier, your stuff's not going to get stolen, you need less labor, whatever. But also because the customer will actually do it. People want being able to order from your phone. You think, oh, but then it's a hassle for them. Yeah, but they get to look at the menu and take as long as they want, and they're not rushed in a line, and all the other pieces of the transaction are less stressful for them most of the time. Some people never want to touch their phone, but they can come up and order the old school way. But the real value add play is to get the customer to order from their phone. It saves you time, energy, and money. The customer is generally going to be happy with it because it's going to be less stressful, and we've designed it to be as quick as we can make the process, so it's not too burdensome on them, but it works. And they still tip. That was one worry we had early on, very early. Oh, if someone orders online, they're not going to tip. The tip makes up 15% of my profit. I need it. And we found that people tip, and I can't say if they tip materially more or less, but I still regularly see good average levels of tips online. So you're not losing out on that at all. They still tip.
And like I like to tell people, if you're dependent upon tips, you need to change your business model.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest.
Yeah. We have done our best to bend over backwards to help people out in a lot of ways. And, I'll obviously give my opinions and this is how you should do something. This is, from my experience, what the best is. But some people, you just got to meet them where they're at as best you can, when you can. Sometimes you can't, but
believe me, I know.
Yeah.
I know. I always tell them it's your business, run it how you see fit. I'm just going to tell you how to do it the best way.
Yeah. If you want to make money, listen to me.
Exactly. If you don't, then it's okay.
Yeah.
All right. I appreciate your time so much. I know I've taken up probably more than you wanted to spend talking to me. I mean,
no. My pleasure, Bill. More than happy to do so. Greatly appreciate the chance to chat with you and tell people about the system. So my pleasure entirely.
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
Yes.
Let's start with the order screen.
Okay, fair enough. So very first thing, and I am going out of order. As you see, this is closed right now. So on the right-hand side, this is an image of a tablet. It's connected to my tablet here at home, and this is what you would see when you're placing an order. But even before I do that, the very first thing that you do for a day, just so you get kind of the full picture front to back, you go and basically you set your location. So you either manually set it, you do detect location, which will find you most of the time. That is not my correct location, but it'll find you most of the time. And if that fails, you can always type in, the address up there. Let's do my old work, 1 Optum Way. So you could type in your actual address. So first thing you do, set your location. Second thing you do, set the end time of the event. You're starting at 12, you're opening or you're starting at 11, it's 10:45. That's in there by default. You click this, you select the end time. And what that does is it turns off online ordering automatically.
Okay.
Then you set your taxes. Now, food trucks move around all the time. So depending on where you are, your taxes are going to be different. Here in Minnesota, we get up to 4 different layers of taxes. So you always have state, you usually have Hennepin, that's our county. Usually you have transit, again, if you're on that side of town, but then you'd have different ones elsewhere. So you just turn on or off the applicable ones and your tax rate totals will update. Once that's done, you type in a message to Facebook. If you're using a Facebook business account, which we highly recommend, you type in, hey, I'm open at this location. And then when you actually type that in there and hit open, it will post to your business Facebook page automatically. So you don't have to manually do it. And more importantly, It includes the link for people to buy from you. So not only do they see your verbiage, but there's the button right there that pops up so they can click on it to start ordering from. And if you do not do that, which I did not do here, it reminds you to please do that. And I'm going to ignore it and open anyways.
So the button that comes up on the Facebook post takes them where?
Takes them to your specific online menu page, which is this here.
And this is something you guys provide with everybody that you work with.
Yep. It's all integrated. There's no extra cost. It's built from scratch that the online and the tablet are all synced and they work together. And that's something I always have to explain because that's not the norm. Whatever you see as a general rule, whatever you see on your tablet or whatever you see online, it's going to look the same on the other one. So they're directly connected. And when you turn something off, you disable your space tacos because you ran out. It pops off the tablet and it pops off of online at the same time, within 2 or 3 seconds. They're very connected when historically those type of processes are generally more bifurcated. They're separate systems that have to talk to each other, and it's much more integrated with us. So, and I can happy to show you how you turn menu items on and off later as well if you'd like to see. It's real easy.
Okay.
But yeah, we provide that for everyone. It's all self-service. They set up, or the user sets up, or the food truck owner sets up. I, of course, more than happy to give you tips and pointers or help if you need it, but it's all self-service. So.
Okay, so once they got themselves listed as open on Facebook, then what do they do?
All right, so then they're on the screen, and most likely they were doing this on the KDS device itself, whatever they're using, a tablet, the big touch screen, or whatever they're using. So then they go to here. This is actually the KDS screen. Again, it'll look better. It really looks good vertically. That's how it's designed. You don't have all this wasted white space.
Right.
But then they're here, and normally there'd be nothing. So let's go back to that, and let's make it so it is nothing, so you get the proper experience. So we're just going to cancel these guys, and let's do that. Okay, so you're open now. You're ready for the day. You can take orders. The tablet here, the starting page of it is actually this. You have your cash register, location, and status. So that opening process you can also do from this tablet. You have a backup order queue. Say something terrible happens and your second device gets damaged or destroyed, you can open up the order queue on here as well. And then this button just kicks you over to the website for other administrative functions.
Okay, so just for the people that are watching, what we're looking at on the right-hand side here is what we would term as the POS system, where the cashier would be working.
Yep.
Okay. And then the left-hand side is what would be what we refer to as the KDS, or the kitchen display system, where the folks that are assembling and producing the food would have that. So there's actually 2 different devices here.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. The KDS is, for the example here, it's connected to my computer via a link right now, and it is actually a tablet that I'm basically just connected to screen share here. Mm-hmm. So, okay, you're open, you're ready to go, and then you can go over to the cash register, and now you can start taking orders. And within here, you have multiple different options, and I have it set up in simple menu items, as well as some complex ones, as well as combos. So we have a combo feature for the really advanced stuff, where you might be doing like a 3 taco combo, and each taco is a choice between 4 different types of tacos. And then each one of those tacos has 10 different modifiers, right? And this process makes that pretty easy. That's kind of this one right here, and I can show you that here in a second. Otherwise, you have more simple items as well that don't need that feature, and they're faster. Okay. So real quick, what's a good real quick one? So chili fries. Chili fries has no modifiers, nothing at all. I click on it, goes over here. It's basically ready to check out. A little more complicated one, I think space tacos. Let's click on that guy. Yep. So this is a menu item, a normal one, but it has a modifier. In this case, it only has 1 modifier, but you basically just have to choose the type. So this is chicken, beef, or pork. Beef has an upsell. Chicken, I'm going to select that. You can then type in if they have special requests, no lettuce, no tomatoes, whatever, no whatevers, and then you add to cart. So that's a relatively simple item. And then you have the really complicated stuff, again, the combos, where it's going to be multiple things. So in this case, I don't have that many options, but first I'm selecting the first item, which is a burger. I click on it. I then get the modifiers. Okay, beef, cheddar, and then let's pretend nothing for that right now. Then I'm picking the side. Well, I have, only 3 different choices here. That's not crazy, but I want some egg rolls, and then I want a drink. I want soda, and then a Pepsi. And the other point of combos is it's how you can give discounts. So I have this set up that, every menu item has a price, but then it gets a $3 discount for a lower price. So I add that to cart. And then when that appears in the order queue, as you see some stuff already starting to pop up over here, that is broken out in easy to use or easy to read way. And now before we even complete that order, one thing I want to mention is this on deck feature. This is a new thing we just added a couple months ago, and it's special because, let's go back a second here. Let's actually delete these, and that'll disappear in about 3 seconds. There we go. Normally an order in any normal point of sale system, from what I know anyways, the order won't pop up on the KDS screen until it's complete and paid for. And normally that makes sense. You don't want to bake food that someone hasn't paid for and might change. So normally that's how it was in our system too. Once the order was actually completed, you'd stick in the credit card, the customer's paid, blah, 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 they've tipped, they're done. Then it would pop up over here. But that takes 60, 90 seconds. They're fumbling with their credit card and they're not sure how much tip to give, whatever. So people have been asking for a while, and we finally figured out how to do it. We've made it so this on deck and is a live feed or 5-second delay to the tablets that are connected to it. So when me over here at the tablet, I'm going to add a chili fry, I'm going to add another chili fry, and I want a corn on the cob too. And it caught the first one there. In about 5 seconds, boom, it's there. So when you're just starting out for the day, or in the situations where you want that 60 to 90 second heads up, you can start going. The cook can start going. And we have a little warning here that says, of course, the customer hasn't paid yet. These are in process. It might change, and it totally could. They could say, oh, forget the second chili fries, and they kick it off of here, and that's going to disappear. But that gets you going sooner, and a lot of people really like that feature. It seems like a small win. Oh, what's 60 seconds? But it actually is really nice. And then, okay, now I can actually complete the transaction. I go to checkout. Let me just finish this, and we'll come back and do another one, and I'll actually show how this works. But
okay.
So I complete it, and then there it actually converts to a real order. So this is a real order that's done and paid for, and had you done a credit card, it would not pop to here until you've done the credit card, etc. Now the cook knows for sure this is locked down and good, and they can finish making it.
What you're doing is really not too different than what like a restaurant would do that has a drive-through. They'll have all the employees wearing the headset, so they're hearing the guest place the order in real time.
Okay.
But as far as it tells them, to drop a bun or drop meat or get it prepared. But typically you teach the employees not to do the special orders until the order is actually served. And that's what you're talking about, the delay that a lot of restaurants have. And this feature would work the same way. It's on deck. You can go ahead and get the meat ready, because chances are they're not changing the meat. Right. You go ahead and get a bun toasting or get the cheese ready, that type of thing.
Yep.
But until they've served it, you may not want to dress that sandwich, because they might change their mind and go, hey, I meant to say no lettuce rather than add lettuce.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a great system. I like how that works.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're glad we were able to figure out how to do it, because it's a nice little feature, and
yep.
No one else, as far as I know, and I'm sure people will eventually, but no one else I know of the main systems do that at the moment, as far as I know.
Yeah, none that I know of either. Like I said, all of them want the order to be served in some way or cashed out in some way to make it, quote unquote, official.
Yeah.
Otherwise, because I can tell you, there's been many times that I've been caught up to the speaker and I've been dressing a sandwich as I'm hearing it on the headset. And I put the mayonnaise on, and somebody goes, "Oh, wait, I didn't mean mayonnaise."
Oh, shoot. Yeah,
exactly. I hate being that fast,
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, well, let me double back now, because I kind of blitzed through the other step, and there's important stuff there. But let's do another order. Let's do some coffee and rib sandwich. A couple other things to note, items down here. You have some cart options. So this is where you can apply things like fees and discounts, 20% off, military veterans, whatever. You'd click on this, you'd click the option, and then it would reduce it. Or add custom items, custom discounts. So if you've got to add something to the menu, you need to charge $2, you do it there real quick. Or one of the other big use cases is food truck goes to an event. The host is paying at the end of the night, and every individual is paying nothing, right? Well, you want to put in every menu item at your price. So you do your order, then you do a 100% off coupon. So that zeroes it out. So the person pays nothing. Right. Then at the end of the night, you come back, you do one manual entry for $1,500 and then charge that through on their credit card. So that's also how you would do that. And then send receipt. All our receipts are electronic. So if a customer needs a receipt, you push the button, type in their email address and send it. If they ordered online, they get that automatically. Very, very few people care about receipts. It's just that 1 in 100 person that needs the reimbursement for their business or whatever. Right. So that button's there as well.
Let me clarify the one point you were making about a big order, because we do see those from time to time where you'll get, a business that wants to pay for 100 employees or whatever.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the total? Because if you said, I sure didn't hear.
So the individual still orders, and they're ordering off of your menu, and then that menu item, you're charging it at, it has whatever price to them that you want that price to be to the end person. So it's $10 for a burger, but then you're discounting it 100% because that person isn't paying anything. At the end of the night, you just run a quick report and it says you did $1,528 in discounts today, and then that's the amount that you would plug in. The system then applies your tax, and you can add a tip or forced gratuity, whatever you want to do. And then you just type that number into the manual checkout, and that is when the host would swipe their credit card or write you a check or do whatever you want to do. So
yeah, that's the part I missed, because I figured that's what you were having to do is just run a report so you can see what the grand total was of the discount.
Yeah, no, I missed it. I should have clarified that. So yeah,
you probably said it. I just I zone out sometimes.
No worries. But yeah, so back to this. So let's check out. So you check out, and then here's kind of these are the important pieces of information.
Okay.
You type in the customer's name, and it's optional because you don't always need to, but you type in the person's name, and that's what you're going to be yelling out the window if you're doing that. Or if you are using the texting feature, this is where you say, hey, can I get a phone number for you? We'll text you when the order's ready. And then you type it in here, and I'm not going to use my personal one. I'll use my business one. Okay, and that's all you had to do. Now you would click cash or credits, and it would go down the chain for cash or credit. Cash is quick. Credit, of course, the reader is then connected, and there's a screen to confirm, and then you tip, and you do a few other things. But I'll skip that for the moment. But yeah, for cash, you'd hit cash. We are redesigning this currently, so be kind. I know it's not the prettiest thing, but it basically tells you how much, and then you can hit $15, $20, or whatever this is generated, and it tells you what the changes. And again, it's going to be prettier here in about a month or so, probably sooner than that. But let's say they gave me a 20, so I click on 20. The order's completed. It reminds the cashier, change the customer 924, and then it pops up over here. It shows my name, and this icon shows that the phone number was entered. So when I, as the cook or the server, whoever's doing the serving, is ready, they hit this button, and that will text me.
And that's automatic. There's no other entry.
Correct. Yep. So I'll just do that, and I guess you won't see it because I'm not sharing my phone, but that just sent me a text. So
okay,
I'll undo it here so we can get that back. But that would have sent me a text. Let me cover off on one or two other things here. So again, these are the individual orders, and let me put one or two more in just so I can show off one other thing. Let's add Bill. Let's add Bill back. So let's add Bill back, and then let's add another one for Steve. So we'll have 4 orders in total. This is another advantage of digital systems for paper tickets, and why I want to call it out. So each one of these is an order. Great. You're working from top to bottom. The oldest is on top, the newest is on bottom, work top to bottom. But the other thing that it does is we can do the all-day summary for you automatically. So over here is the running total. This is all the things you need to make. And this is most useful when you have a deep fryer that you need to keep full of chicken fingers or fries or tater tots or whatever that, have a relatively long turn time. So you can see at a glance, well, I have 5 orders of chili fries, or, more realistically, 5 orders of chicken fingers. So you can keep the fryers going. You don't care what order they're in, you're going to need them. So you keep it going. And then you serve, and this updates again in real time. So I have a chili fry and a corn dog. So that corn dog will disappear, it's gone, and chili fries is down to 4. But that gives you your running total. And that matters when you start to get a few orders deep. If you only got 2 or 3, you can probably keep it in your head. But if you're at an event or you're busy and you're 5, 10, 15 orders or more deep, having the summary is really, hopefully you're not that deep, but having the summary is really, really helpful for that.
Okay, so let me ask a question, because this is different than the way it was when I first talked to you, about a year ago, I think. So when you hit the ready, that actually moved it down to the right-hand part of that screen, and it says back to pending or serve.
Yep.
So at this point, the guest has not been notified.
Right? They have been notified. So okay. The thing that we added this, and this is what's different. This is optional. There's 2 options here, depending on the type of truck you have. So I'm in the second option, the more complex one, where there's actually 2 steps.
Okay.
You have it on 1 step where all you do is you hit ready and serve. It's the same thing. So when you push that button, it texts them, and then it moves over here, but then it's basically gone. Like there's a list that shows your last 5 as a reference point, but you don't do anything else. You hit it once and you're done. And then you can glance back at the screen real quickly if you need to.
Right. To if you hit the wrong one or something.
Exactly. But that quickly goes away. This is the 2-step process where I hit ready, it texts the customer, but I still have the food. So it's not until the actual person comes and grabs it, then you hit the button again and it's truly gone. Okay. That helps for bigger trucks when you have more people involved and you're pushing volume faster, or maybe you even have 2 different KDS screens. So that way you can, not just, hey, the food's done and the person's coming. It's the food's done and now it's out the window. I don't even have to think about it anymore. So that's optional. You just toggle that on and off in our settings, whichever you want to do.
Just so I can explain to people, because they're probably thinking, why would I need that? A busy truck like you're describing could send out maybe 4 or 5 orders within the same 30, 40 seconds.
Yep.
And if you have somebody that has that system set up with a separate screen, they can organize, okay, this person came and picked up this particular set of food and send it out. A truck that's low volume is only going to have 1 order up at a time anyway. And then the guest is going to meander up there and get it. And they won't have that 2nd or 3rd or 4th order setting up ready to go.
Yes.
So I can see where would be of a big benefit to a very high volume truck.
Yeah.
And that's something everybody should aspire to.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a few trucks like that where they have 2 big KDS screens. So the big fancy ones we have on our website, and they'll run it, different people at the different stations with the different jobs. And it's very useful for them. Right. So they're also the ones that have the screen on the outside, as you can imagine. So, I think that's the core of this. Okay. Additionally, there's buttons up here where you can check, my pre-orders, delivery, etc., past orders. If you did need to go back and look at stuff that isn't here anymore, you can go back and look at your past orders.
So just out of curiosity, why is the hamburger ice cream a different font color?
Why is that? I think I typed something in. So within the settings, one of the other things that I should note too on that topic, you see the numbering, why they're out of order. It seems like they're out of order since you have the most on top. Mm-hmm. That comes down to categorization. So you can categorize things as entrees, sides, drinks, or dessert, and it'll always put the entrees on the top. So right. I have these as dessert, and this is probably a side or something like that. But it's always going to put the entrees on top, regardless of the number, because that's probably the thing that takes the longest to make. Normally, things are a different color because they're manually entered. This was not manually entered, so I'm going to have to look into that. I'm not sure why it's a different color. But normally those manual entries that I talked about before, when you're charging someone out at the end of the night, or you're just doing a one-off, it's going to be a different color.
Okay.
Just so you know. Let me show you one other thing, just because I didn't touch on it before. So let me put one more order through here real quick. Let's do a messy one. That's not too messy. Well, it's not that messy, but it works. No tomatoes. I don't like tomatoes. So let's do that. Okay, so back on the left-hand side, and let's just clear out the other ones so they're not in the way.
Okay.
Serve all this. Okay, so things to call out too. This is the item. These are the modifiers, and then the red text is the thing I manually typed in. So that's what tries to make it very obvious. And then of course the count for how many of them there are. That tries to make it very obvious what you're doing and what's modifiers, what's manual entered, and what's the actual item itself. And then it delineates that way as well on the summary so that you know. And one other thing about the combos, this is minor, but when you do a combo, when it comes in here, it will actually break the items apart and aggregate them over here. It doesn't list it as a summary combo item. It lists it as the burger, the fries, and the drink. It'll show it, under the burger or under the combo over here, but that actually took a lot of work on our part to make it actually break that apart so that because you don't care, well, combo, whatever, I need to know the thing I'm making. So
exactly.
It does that, and it groups it together. So if someone ordered a cheeseburger from the combo or just cheeseburger by itself, it'll aggregate the two over here properly. So
And it's as good as any system I've seen. Let me ask you about the special there with no tomatoes.
Yeah.
If you had somebody that ordered, say, 3 different sets of specials, are they going to come as a straight line, or are they going to, I guess, what would be a carriage return where they actually start on the next line?
If it's a complete exact copy, someone does another beef, another cheddar, and no tomatoes exactly the same, it'll just increment this to 2. Realistically, you'd never type this exactly the same, so then it would be another line. It'd be beef, cheddar, and no tomatoes, but the person typing it in didn't type in the S, so it's another line.
Okay.
But these you don't get too much. It's usually your modifiers. I mean, that's the normal thing, and that'll aggregate up. So you'd get 2 beef cheddar, and they probably typed in no special instructions, and that'll aggregate. So,
have any of the trucks that you have had an issue with the specials being really complicated to type in? Like a burger, for instance, could be no mayonnaise, no lettuce, no tomato, no onion. Has anybody had any issues with that?
Some people have pretty complicated menus, and they do their best to make it work. There's different ways to go. Generally, I'm trying to think, how do I say this? Generally, we recommend, especially for a burger truck, make the item inclusive of the normal things. And then for your modifiers, have them be things that people regularly select. And generally the things you'd upcharge for or have a real selection between, extra cheese, or, maybe you're doing a chicken sandwich instead of a beef patty, or you want the double patty for an extra $3. Make those things the modifiers generally. You can do no's as well, no whatever for a modifier, but it's a careful balance between having too many options when checking out versus not enough. And that's so dependent on the truck. Because remember, whatever you set up there, the customer sees when ordering online. You don't want them scrolling through, screen after screen after screen of modifiers. And we lay it out well. They can handle that, but it's a balance. And burger trucks probably have it the hardest because they generally have the most things. The most successful ones I see tend to try to stick their burgers to a set. This burger includes these things, and we're fairly fixed on that, but they probably don't include too much. It's 3 items on top of the burger and or on top of the beef and cheese. And then they'll modify from there. And then they'll type in the special instructions from there. I'm not sure if that answered your question. That's kind of the best practice as far as people having problems. I mean, we've adjusted and retooled this as best as possible. I don't think there's much you could do better per se. It's pretty industry standard from what I've seen of other modifier systems as well.
It's very similar. The only difference that I can recall from some of them, and it really speaks to what you talked about, a customer that's in their office or at home having so many different screens to scroll through or to even just scroll up and down on. Yeah, I mean, that would be super efficient for sure. And I would imagine if somebody starts to have a lot of specials, and that should be telling them that, hey, we've got a problem with whatever's going on and we need to adjust that.
Right. And let me show you real quick here. And this isn't a perfect view, but this is the online view, and it's not perfect. We're still working on it. But as you can see, it's a mirrored copy of what you see on the tablet, pictures, whatever. And then of course they would click on it. So let's do the same one I was doing the other burger. You know, you select your meat, you select your cheese. If they want to add special instructions, just like they would have done on the tablet, the customer could do that there. Whatever you need. And then for modifier, for combos, similar type of thing you saw over here. You select the burger, the side, the drink, add it to cart, check out. So,
okay. So it's pretty straightforward.
Correct.
Okay. I think it's an amazing system. I love, I want to get trucks out of the Stone Age, and I love everything that you guys have done. No paper. I love that. Yeah. KDS, gotta have.
Yeah.
And then the order up system. I'd much rather do the texting like you're doing than to depend upon pagers.
Yeah. People lose pagers, they get stolen, they don't work. You go inside a building and they don't get reception. Yep. You think it will, but it won't, or there gets interference, all those kind of things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or you vend where there's multiple trucks and they're all in the same frequency and they all go off at once.
Right, exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep, there we go. Okay. This is a screen that can sit on the outside of the food truck. And I know it doesn't look like much at the moment because there's nothing here. But this is where it would show the upcoming orders, the ones that have already been paid for and the cook is working on, but it'll show what's coming up. And then here's the QR code. And then ignore our branding because it'll show your branding. This is my test truck, so it shows our branding. Okay. But then they can just have this as a second screen outside of the truck. All it's doing is basically just saying Steve is next, and then Rachel, and then Sarah, and then Bill. But that's useful, not for everybody, but it's an extra useful thing that some people like.
How many orders would that show at one time?
I'm gonna say 4 or 5, something like that. I can put a few up here real quick if you want me to. I'm gonna say 4 or 5.
Absolutely.
Let me see here. This might take a moment.
Not a problem. Because while you're doing that,
Steve, Tom, maybe it'll show a few more. Let's get a Bill in there.
There we go. Got to have one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's put a Warren in there too. Okay, well, I'll show 4, which will give you the idea of how many it can show when my 4th one pops up here. And there we go. So ideally, someone has a monitor, something like this size out there. And this is just one more thing. So Steve is next, then Tom, then Bill, then Warren. And this is just showing the order. And it looks like you could get about 6 or 7 on here at a time.
Okay. So as one gets bumped off, does it rearrange the numbers?
Yes, it should. Let me see here. Let's serve, but I'm serving from a different screen. Let's go out of order for fun. Let's serve Bill. Somehow your food got done before everyone else's. So I served it. Let's see here. There we go. Yep. So you disappeared and now I'm number 3.
All right, that works. That's pretty cool. And somebody could put this on the side of their truck and kind of let the guests know that, hey, we're working on your food.
Correct. And this is a total extra. You don't have to do. A small number of people do, but it's a nice feature that someone asked for, and we were able to crank it out in a couple of days for them. So,
just out of curiosity, now I'm just being a little crazy.
Mm-hmm.
if somebody had this on the side of the truck, let's say, could they do like a picture in a picture where they could be showing like, the weather or something, and then that would be down in the lower corner just to let people know? Is that possible?
Uh, Probably. So how this works is it's a web page on our website, just like
Right.
every other piece of it. So basically anything that has a web browser, it's not going to be like old school picture in picture on your television where you're selecting two different channels.
Right.
You'd have to pull up like a different web browser or two, but you could show multiple things if you have a big enough screen.
Right. You
Um,
could minimize yours and create its own size and then make the other one bigger or whatever,
Correct,
or
correct.
even lay it on top of it. Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
you got it. And I know we're probably going a little about an order here, but I can show you too if you want to connect the dots. Again, this is what the customer sees with no order detail, but then for the actual order queue that the cook is working on, it's going to look more like this. Now, this is the wrong aspect ratio. In the truck, all of the screens are vertical. They're not horizontal like this. They're portrait, not landscape. So
Okay.
it would really be more, something like this, more space efficient, and then it's long. So you see probably seven orders at a time.
Let's talk about real quick about the equipment they would need to be able to do this.
Yep. Yeah. So we designed our system to be very flexible. So you can do it pretty cheap, or you can spend more money. But even the stuff that you buy, it's all nothing's proprietary. It's items you buy on Amazon or at Best Buy or Target. So just generally keep that in mind. But there's basically two core pieces of the system: the POS, which needs to be a tablet, and this is the one piece that's picky. It has to be an Android. It can't be an iPad. Android tablets are cheaper, which is good, but I know some people do have iPads, so you can't use that for the POS. But for the KDS screen, it can be literally anything with a web browser. I mean, I'm showing it to you here on my computer, right? So that could be your iPad if you had an old iPad you wanted to use. If you wanted to have a big, fancy touchscreen, there's one we recommend on our website. It's real big, real nice. People love it. You can use that. And that's a little more expensive. But those are the two main pieces, and it's pretty flexible between them. And then you need internet, which is a separate topic, and you also need the little credit card reader for the POS system, but that's minor. But again, none of the hardware is proprietary. You break something, you can replace it. Just go to the store real quick. The stuff's pretty reliable. Treat electronics with respect. There's still a little computer in your very hot truck, so be careful with it. But
Yep.
They seem to work pretty well.
Okay. You talked about the equipment,
Yep.
the basic equipment, and of course they could add on an additional screen.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can have as many KDS screens as you want. There's no extra cost. Yeah, other companies will charge you per screen, one to buy it, and then also monthly fees.
Yep.
You could have one, you could have three. I mean, realistically, in a food truck, I can't think of a situation you need more than two. I mean, one works for 80% of people,
Yep.
but you could have more if you want. It'll burn a little bit more data, but immaterial amount. Our system uses very little data, relatively speaking. No extra cost on our side. You just have to have the screen.
Right. Yeah, and I can see why they would need that second screen, like we were talking about, serving off the order,
Yep.
just to stay organized.
Yeah,
But certainly a low volume truck could work off of just the cashier equipment and then the one that's in the cooking area.
You got it. And we do recommend, I know it's always an expense, but we do recommend the big touch screen because it's such a better experience. And I guess I
Yep.
should show the Amazon page isn't a great example. I can show a picture here real quick if you give me a second.
Sure.
It's just such a better experience from everything that we've seen. And the tablets work fine. And if you need to save the money, that's perfectly fine. You can still see plenty of items on there. It'll work. But the big screen is nice because you can see it from a long distance away. Everyone can see it at once. Here's an example of the two. The left is the big touchscreen, and then the right would be comparable, the same menu, the same orders, but on a little tablet doing the same thing. So you can kind of get a feel for what that looks like. You get, and we're actually a little more space efficient now, but you can get probably a good 7 orders here, all day summary. And then this is actually set to that other mode, the one-step mode, where they don't have to push the button again. It just shows it once they hit serve. And then this is kind of how it looks on a tablet. So
Yeah, absolutely. If I was going to do another food truck, I would get the bigger monitor just so you could see it
yeah,
easier. And you, since that's on a web browser, you can actually make it somewhat bigger yourself, can't you?
yeah, you can always zoom in. Yeah, so this is set to 100%, but if you're 100% zoom, but you can just click the options at the top in the web browser, zoom to 125 and
Right.
make it bigger. Yeah, absolutely. You'll see less, obviously, or see less
Yeah.
orders, but yeah, it'll be bigger.
Yeah. So there is some customization there as well. And they could make it smaller if they got really good eyesight too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Let's talk about the credit card processing itself, just real briefly.
Absolutely.
Because I know that you can, if you already have Square, you can use this on top of Square, right?
Technically, yes. So when we first built the system, you could we connected to Square. So for the window orders, you could use Square. Online doesn't work with Square though. If you want there, that's a break. That part never got built.
Right.
We generally don't recommend Square because it's the most expensive option, and we have other options that are fully integrated, so it works for online and window orders, and two, they're much cheaper, or at least materially cheaper. So you could if you need to, and I do have one or two customers that they just don't want to change. They don't want to buy a new credit card reader, whatever. They just use Square through the system, and they're more than welcome to. But we recommend basically one of two other credit card processors. One of them is called SumUp, and one of them is called Payline/CardPoint. They're going through a rebranding, so either of those names is the same company. SumUp, there's basically a different use case between the two that determines whether a food truck should choose one or the other. It's usually best to go with Payline or CardPoint, but not always. Payline CardPoint is cheaper. They're fully integrated into our system. Whenever there's issues, we can actually help you. We have a lot of real good visibility into it, but it's designed for a little bit higher volume trucks. So if you're very seasonal, or you're in a situation where you're doing less than $1,000 a month in sales, you'd want to consider SumUp, because even though per transaction it's a little bit higher, it's 2.75%, I believe, versus Payline, which is about 2.4 to 2.5 based on my calculation. SumUp is like Square, where there's no monthly fees, there's no minimum. You just charge it and go. You pay a little higher price, but that's it. Payline, you need to do $1,000 a month in sales, and you need to do that every month. If you don't, there's like a $25 a month fee. So most trucks, it makes much more sense to go with Payline, CardPoint, but occasionally SumUp makes more sense, and that's why we support both. If that hopefully makes sense.
It does make sense. So there's options, and whichever one makes the most financial sense for the particular truck.
Correct. Yeah.
You mentioned that you needed the card processor itself. How much is the one that you guys support? The PayPoint, I believe.
Yeah, CardPoint, Payline. I know.
Okay.
It's they're changing their brand naming, so it's annoying. It's $60 for the little reader. We get a little discount from them. I know that doesn't seem that cheap, but they actually sell them for like $100 on their website. But anyone that uses our system, we got them to negotiate it down a little bit, so they give it to our customers for $60.
And which kind of reader is it? Is it the one that does the dip and the touch and all that?
Correct. Okay. Correct. Yeah, it's a little Bluetooth reader that connects via Bluetooth to the tablet. It's for chip readers. You can swipe, but you'd only do that on a card that doesn't have a chip in it, which is pretty much nothing now. It does have tap, but we're working on adding that. The tap doesn't work for probably about another month. That's something on our side we have to enable, but it will shortly. The hardware's there. We just have to finish building that, which will finally get done here, hopefully pretty soon. So yes. And you can you break your reader or you'll lose it or something. You can manually type in credit card numbers into the point of sale system when you're checking someone else. That's not something you want to have to do very often, but that backup is there too if something ever happened to the reader.
Right, and that's important that people understand there is a backup system there.
Yeah.
Because it is no fun to have somebody ring something up and then go, "Oh, I'm sorry, our credit card machine's down."
Yeah.
Because most of the time they got to cancel the order.
Yeah.
All right. Just trying to think of what else we could go over here. As far as someone that you would talk to or get stuck, if they have everything set up the way you've got it set up right now, is there any pain point they would be encountering, or would they pretty much be good to go? They could open up tomorrow. So
Yeah, most pain points come from the person's general proficiency with technology. So it's going to be, there's always people that, and understandably, will struggle just connecting to Wi-Fi connection to
right.
the stuff. So we'll have those kind of things from time to time. We always do our best to help. Outside of that, do know your hardware. So I learned an interesting truthism, sort of. Early on, I would visit trucks all the time, and I still do, obviously, all the time, but I would be very hands-on. So like they'd want to use our system, and then I'd even order the hardware for them, and they just pay me back for it, and then I'd install all of it, I get it all working, and then they not know how to do anything with it. And I'm trying to go above and beyond because I want them as a customer, and I like visiting food trucks anyways. But I learned the hard way that, well, I need to help, but if I do that, one, I shouldn't be buying it for them. That's something else. They need to buy it themselves. But two, they need to install it and do the setup processes themselves, because that's how they learn how it works. Because otherwise they're going to call me in the middle of a rush and say, I can't get the Wi-Fi thing to connect to my hotspot, because they hadn't done it before. And for the last 2 months they've been using the system, it's been set to auto connect because I set that up for them, but then they change something and now they don't know what to do. So there's those kind of things. I would say that's a majority of it, that type of item.
Right.
We have our own bugs to fix from time to time. Someone will find that something buried somewhere isn't working, and they let us know, and then we fix it the next day, and then it's working again. But that stuff's pretty rare.
Okay.
We added the credit card processors. Those can be pain points from time to time. Whenever there's money exchanging hands, there's a plethora of ways that can go sideways. We've had minimal issues with that, but there's things that happen from time to time of, someone trying to push through what looks like a fraudulent charge, and them having to deal with that with the merchant servicing company on the back end to clear it up. I won't go into details. That's enough. You know what I mean from those things.
Yes, I do know what you mean.
So yeah.
And it happens, and it's just something you got to deal with. You just got to just learn.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the menu that we're looking at right now. Is 14 items on it.
Yep.
How long would it take the average person to set that up?
I'll show you. So I'll show you how things look in general. So setup, menus.
Okay.
You can have all your menus. I have really only one good one and a couple other ones. But you can turn a menu on and off just like that. And the tablet updates in near real time, a couple of seconds. And again, that's some very expensive chicken coffee. So that's the menus themselves. It's the same logic within it too. So you go within the menu and you can turn items on and off, and you can move things around, and they disappear and add on real quick. And then you can add stuff very quickly. So say you did forget to add something. Oh, shoots. Sure. Water, $2. Add new item. There's your water for $2, just like that. And again, this is live on the tablet.
Right.
Now, really, you'd want to add a lot more stuff to it than just the dollar amount, but that gets it on there, and then you can go in and add your short name. So do you want it to say on the KMS, it says KDS or KMS there, but on the KDS, do you want it to not say the long rib sandwich? You just want it to say RS, you can type that in, and that's what will come up on the KDS screen. Okay. Put in your description for people to see online. Is it taxable? Do you need to set any special taxes? We added this recently. Beer has, at least in Minnesota, a different sales tax rate. So you need a special tax rate for an item that's tagged as alcohol, or water is technically, like bottled water isn't taxable. So you need a little box to check to take that off of your normal sales tax stuff. You'd set your, entree type, you'd set display location. This is by default onto all, but this is where you could make it so something only shows up online or something only shows up on the tablet. You hit update, load picture, that's pretty quick. And then if you need to do the modifiers, you add them here. Modifiers are the slowest part. You can get a menu item up and going real quick, but if you have a complicated modifier group, modifiers, that can take a little bit. But once it's up, everything's set up and you can just toggle things on and off quickly and easily.
So basically, if somebody wasn't doing, a lot of different modifiers, they could set it up literally in minutes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Yep. And here's how this looks with actual modifiers in it. So you set what the name is, meat, you set the items, any upsell, if there is any upsell, and that's a grouping. And then you can have another group and you can have as many groups as you want. So yeah, this can get big, but it can be very quick if you're not doing too much of that.
Because once you set up one, then it should flow pretty easily to be able to set up as many things as is on your menu.
Yeah. Yep.
I know the other day. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we're working on making that even faster too. So Trevor's working on a project right now to make the modifier groups easily movable from item to item, because at the moment you have to set this up, but then you have to do it again for item number 2 if they have the same modifiers. But he's almost done, and it should be out in a week or two, where when you actually make the group, it's a thing. Like it's it's an item, and then you can just assign that item to the next thing. So that makes the process much, much quicker. If you kind of get what I'm saying there. It's
it's like a sub recipe.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. And you'd have the same sub recipe on multiple items.
Yep.
Now, the one thing that we were talking about the other day, you're going to be integrating or putting in the ability to take inventory or to inventory count your products. How far are you from being able to do that?
So we do have inventory. We already have that out. It's focused though. It's not a full inventory tracking system where you're tracking every napkin, you're tracking, everything like that. The purpose of this is really around online ordering and telling you if you're about to, or disabling online ordering and telling you if you're about to burn through something. So this is already out there, and what it'll do is you create your menu item, then you create an ingredient, then you link that ingredient to that menu item. It can be a one-to-one relationship, a many-to-one relationship, a one-to-many relationship, whatever. And by that, I mean, you could have 3 different burgers all tied to the same burger patty, and then you set the burger patty inventory at 50, and then no matter what the customer buys of those different burgers, it's ticking down that burger patty. So then once you burn through all of it, that online ordering will auto disable. This thing here will say, well, greatest burger ever. It'll say this is out and they can't click on it. They can still see it, so they know that you have this and they might know about it for next time, but they can't click on it. And then on the order queue, there'll be a little box, or not, sorry, there could be a point of sale. There'll be a little box that pops up right here that says low when you're under like 10, and then it'll say out or no inventory. It turns red and it's very obvious you don't have it. The difference though is on the cashier side, on the POS here, you can still push the button and charge it through. So you can override it basically if you have 1 or 2 left, or you were being conservative on your inventory estimate. But automatically disables online, tells you about it on the POS. Okay. So the focus is really on that. We might expand that to be a full inventory system in the future. We know there'd be some benefit there, but this was really the core of what a lot of people were asking about for inventory. I don't want to have to disable something. I don't want to use online because I've only got 13 racks of ribs, and when I'm out, and I don't want to be giving refunds to 3 mad people. And this handles that.
Yeah. And I like that feature. Basically, you're just counting down until you run out. And since it talks to the online ordering as well as the POS, that's as good as you can get, because everybody that would be ordering it is at least notified that, hey, this product's no longer available. Mm-hmm. And as long as the cashier's taught not to override it, you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I think you've covered everything that we could possibly talk about.
Okay. Oh, one other plug too.
Okay.
We do more than happy to set up demos for anyone. We're a small business, and we're always about trying to support other small businesses. And I try to be as straightforward and upfront about everything. And while I want everyone to use our system, I know it doesn't make sense for everyone. So we're happy to set up a demo, play with it, see if it makes sense for you. Decide to use it, awesome. Decide not to use it, hey, totally understand. But no commitments, nothing there. All I need is a phone number and email address, and I can set that up for anyone that's interested. So,
which I think is awesome because you set it up for me way back when, and you can play with it as much as you want.
Yep.
And it does help you to understand how the system works.
Exactly. Hands-on is so helpful.
Yeah, exactly. I would encourage everybody to do it just as the experimentation, because it is a world of difference once you're not handwriting tickets. And until you've experienced not having to deal with handwriting tickets or even a printed ticket and using a ticket rail, that experience is so different. It really changes how you operate, because now you're thinking about, well, if I can do this quicker, then I can do, 2 or 3 other different things quicker.
Yeah.
And that's really what food trucks need, is they've got to embrace as much as possible, not only the delicious food that a lot of them deliver, but they are convenient.
Yeah.
You can't avoid being convenient as a food truck, and convenience implies speed.
Yep. And the more prices go up, the more you have inflation on food or labor, you have to eke out those efficiency gains, because you're going to pay what you're going to pay for chicken wings. And you try to pass it on to the customer as best you can, but you really got to get efficiencies out of elsewhere. And there are a lot of ways to control it. We can hate on McDonald's all we want, but I go there and I compare it to other places, and they're fast and the food's cheap. Yeah, but it is cheap, and they're fast and they still manage to make good money because they're quick. And I'll go to other places, and I like some of the other places, and they're just not anywhere near as efficient.
For us in the South, since we have Chick-fil-A's down here, Chick-fil-A will put McDonald's to shame.
Oh yeah.
Because Chick-fil-A is ridiculous fast. And what I like to brag about on Chick-fil-A, I've never worked for them, unfortunately. I've known a lot of people that have, and I've worked with them outside of an official capacity. And their average store unit is approaching $5 million a year.
That's crazy, I know.
Yeah, for an average.
Yeah.
I ran a Wendy's way back in the day, and it was the 5th highest volume Wendy's in the world, and we did about $5 million a year. But Chick-fil-A is doing that across their whole system.
Yeah.
Their whole system's averaging $5 million per unit. That's crazy. And they're fast. I mean, they have 2 drive-through lanes. They'll have like 20 people outside.
Yep.
Taking orders and delivering food, and every one of them seems to be genuinely happy to be there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's just all a matter of how you handle your employees and treat them, and have a system in place. And this is what food trucks need, this system that you have.
Yep.
It's the doorway to them being fast.
Absolutely. I've been to many food truck festivals over the years now, and I'll spend a lot of time in different trucks, and some that use our system, some don't. And even between the ones that use our system, like some have the production process down and they leverage it to the max, and they'll push hugely more volume. And then you'll talk to some other trucks and they'll be very happy because they did well at a food truck festival, but they literally left $4,000 or $5,000 on the table that day because of the speed they were going at. And that's abnormal. Most of the time you'd be incredibly lucky just to have that total in a day. But it really matters. So
yeah, it does. It really does. And your system really takes, again, the food trucks out of the Stone Age. It makes such a world of difference to do everything as much as possible electronically.